That's how much we will all pay for this new deficit this year. That is on top of what you're already paying.
No matter how much insane amounts of tax you paid off in Canada, deficit means that you still owed that much to have balanced the budget.
Well, here is the official theme of every budget that the Liberal has presented so far.
They keep talking about building a stronger middle class when 80% of Canadians feel as though they will never be able to afford a home. Like, if you had a strong middle class, you would not need a universal basic income.
And we're at a point right now where Canada's GDP is now officially no longer in the G7.
I'm not surprised.
5 times the government gaslighted you. And those 5 times are the times that for me are the most meaningful. So, start with the first one. All right. Welcome to the Right Call Podcast, everyone. Today's episode 99. We're so close to the 3 digits. Simmer, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Elliot. What's up with you?
Not bad. Little voice crack. We gotta do some like Figaro. Yeah. We don't do that before. We just get right into it. First and foremost, our Patreons, Céline, Tim, Pierre, and Sylvie. Thank you mucho. $8 a month. We're getting rich. We also have a $29.99 a month, which means you get to go live with us and you get to take some calls and a bunch of things. And there's, of course, the $9,999 a month package, which is the honeypot. If you're CIA or CSIS and you're trying to get us to stop making the government look bad, well, you better buy that because or else we're going to keep going, correct? So last week, lots happened in Canada. I don't think we'll be talking much about the world today. I think today is a Canada Day.
Is it?
It's a Canadian thing. The budget dropped, and we got to dive into it. There's so much.
What a disaster.
It is a disaster. Absolutely. I did prepare 2 things. I don't know if we'll be able to get into it. I want to talk about the CBC because it breaks my heart to see just how many Canadians from the boomer generation still listen to them. And it also coincides with voting intentions. It is mostly boomers who vote Liberals and boomers who watch the CBC. And the CBC that gets a lot of money from the federal government. It's a whole kerfuffle right there. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to touch on Canadian gaslighting.
Okay.
You know, that's the thing. I looked into it. I basically asked and did some research and help with AI. Thank you very much for that. On how many times in the history has the government said they're going to do something and then backtracked? How to gaslit people into belief. Because I want people to realize, especially the younger generation, that those nice big promises like that you see in New York City with Mamdani, right, the new mayor, it's all going to be nice and beautiful. But in actuality, you're just going to get gaslit and you're a youthful idiot. That's basically what I want to try to look into.
Mamdani is a lot like he's like the Justin Trudeau of New York
absolutely
politics.
Absolutely. So, and he won't need to do blackface like Trudeau did.
No.
He's already an
permanent brown face.
And yeah, of course, and obviously there's going to be a few things like taxes. I think we need to talk about taxes today. There's going to be some taxes topics. What about you? Did you prepare anything for us today?
Yes, I did. I want to talk a lot about Zohran Mamdani and this new wave of politics, this new era of New York's politics. Like it's very interesting that he won the election and his voting demographic. So I want to talk a little bit about Zohran Mamdani. Obviously, we're going to talk about Mark Carney.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the state of Canada and some new things like Canada announcing UBI.
Ooh,
have you heard about this?
In the Senate, I saw that.
Yeah, and so there are some really important topics and talking a lot about the repercussions of socialist programs like this. Definitely going to talk about some LGBTQ information.
Ooh, okay. Let's do that.
This is it's got to be said. So we're going to say it.
Let's say it for sure.
A very interesting episode. A lot has happened in Canada. A lot has happened in New York. And
so let's keep on that.
To talk about.
Let's talk Canada, budget, and then we'll break down some taxes. We'll go into Mamdani, maybe a little bit of LGBTQ. And if we have time at the end, I want to talk about the gaslighting. And if CBC is not today, it'll be another. It's been 3 weeks I've been trying to talk about the CBC, but you know what? The longer we wait, the more I tighten the screw. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get into the Canadian budget. So last week, Ministre Champagne released the much-awaited and incredibly late budget, right? Normally, the Canadian government releases budgets in April.
Yeah.
We are in November.
Yep.
half the fiscal year is gone already without us knowing where the money was going. Doesn't matter, right?
Not to most Canadians. I don't
know. For being a businessman, is that how you run your company?
Not at all.
Not at all. Yeah. So, little summary here. Okay, I got some little metrics, and then we can dive a little bit deeper into it. But ultimately, let's start with this. It's a 406-page budget. And this I've been saying for a long time, and Elon stole that idea from me. I'm going to trademark that shit. I'm going to copyright it because I've been saying this for a while. But Elon said that budgets from now on should absolutely be read on the floor of Congress in its entirety in order to prevent congressmen and senators from writing these ridiculously long, convoluted budgets that nobody understands or reads. In Canada, we should do the same because 406 fucking pages, how many pages do you need to run the government? It's not normal. Again, there are trillion-dollar companies, for real, trillion-dollar companies that I bet have simpler financial statements and budgets than this Canadian government does.
Well, they prioritize it because it's important for their shareholders to be able to get the relevant information properly. But it seems like the Canadian government has the opposite in their concern, that they want to have as much pages.
They want to hide it.
Yeah, so that most people won't look through it. They know no one's going to look through a 400-page document. But you can use AI to summarize it. So
that's a very good point. So in short, total projected revenues, Canada this year will generate $507.5 billion. Sounds good, right? It's really. Not, because it's actually a decline of almost 1% from the previous years. Yeah. That's not fun. Knowing that your country actually got more people, more immigrants, more taxpayers, and should have also, increased its productivity. But instead, we're actually declining our profits, not profits. Definitely not profits, because we're not making profit. Our revenue by 0.7%.
You know what that tells you, right? Justin Trudeau's investments did not really work.
They did not pay any dividends.
10 years of Liberal investments didn't really pay any returns, did they?
That's a very good point. Then on top of that, we have total projected expenses, $585.9 billion. That is up 7% from last year. Always fun. And this leads us to the elephant in the room, the thing that the government doesn't like to talk about too much, but it is so important, the deficit. The deficit is, in French we say manque à gagner. It is the delta between revenue and expenses. Effectively, it is how much we need to borrow to run the government because we ain't making enough. Or we're spending too much. Yeah. Or a combination of both. And that is
annual loss.
Yes, exactly. And this year it's $78.3 billion, significantly worse than last year's deficit by a considerable amount. As a matter of fact, it is the largest deficit in history.
Outside of COVID.
Outside of the pandemic. So that's what we're looking at. Now, however, I like to be as unbiased as I can, and I will always give credit where credit is due. So let's talk about the good and the bad. But let's start with the good. For once, we're going to talk about some good, and I think you and I are on agreement with this. In the budget, they're looking to cut 38,000 bureaucrats by 2029.
Yeah.
To me, that's not enough, but it's a good start. At least they're not adding, right?
Certainly.
Normally, at least under the Trudeau era, it was continuously adding people or bureaucrats year after year. This is the first time we're actually looking to cut.
Yeah, Justin Trudeau increased the Canadian bureaucracy by roughly 40%. So it's definitely a good start to get a lot of these bureaucrats and government jobs out of the way.
Yep. So it's a good start, and I'll give him credit for that. At least it's cutting on the bureaucrats. Yeah. I'm happy with that. Another one. Temporary residents like students and foreign workers are expected to be cut by nearly 50%. I think that's another good thing, especially the temporary foreign worker. It has been getting abused by companies in order to get cheap labor and has been completely destroying the domestic industries of Canada, job markets for youth, unemployment, and then housing market, you name it. So that's good. We're cutting by 50%.
Well, you need to keep track of one thing. This is what they're announcing, and whether it will actually materialize is a completely different thing.
Absolutely. And that's a very good caveat. This is projections.
Yeah.
They can promise anything.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is to know?
He's promising that he's going to balance the budget in 2 years. I don't see how you balance the budget in 2 years with his spending spree. So,
yeah, fair enough. So temporary residence and missions are slated to go from 673,000 to 385,000. So it's still high, but The good as well, and you might think this is a little weird for me to say, but he's ending the luxury tax. He's ending the luxury tax. Why would that be a good thing? Well, to be honest with you, I think that was a stupid tax to begin with. And mind you, I'm not a beneficiary or a victim of that tax. I've never paid luxury tax in my life. Don't think I will, because it's for yachts and planes and for, stuff like that. But I don't think it was a good tax.
I think Chrystia Freeland was trying to push that like a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Am I right?
That's exactly on.
Okay.
That was her thing.
And so same thing with the consumer carbon tax, liberal voters, liberal commentators, liberal politicians, they all love to say, oh, we cut the consumer carbon tax. We cut, and now they cut this luxury tax.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys put it on in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you created it.
Don't take any credit for any of it.
But it's good that it's being scrapped.
Sure.
Because ultimately, it was actually costing more to administer than it was bringing in. Because there's no rich people in Canada, dude. What the fuck? Yeah. And in Canadian fashion, we probably overspent on administering everything. They're also ending the unused house tax. So that was a tax on unused real estate, or effectively real estate that's vacant. I'm not for that. Just simply due to by virtue of my personal beliefs that it's your private property. You can do what the fuck you want with it. If you want to sit on it and just let it sit empty, it's your fucking right. You should not be taxed for that.
Well, the Liberals they don't want private property. I don't think the way they're moving in that direction, I don't think they actually care about, ownership in this country anymore. And a lot of this UBI stuff and a lot of the stuff we want to talk about really covers this today.
Oh, for sure. Well, we'll get into the UBI.
Yeah.
Another thing I think that's good is that it appears, although this is not confirmed, it appears, at least from the numbers, that they will be phasing out the emissions cap. So they're backing down. They're backing down for their...
They're backing down on climate change. The Liberal Party of Canada is backing down on climate change.
Guys, we're all going to die. The climate's going to kill us.
Where are the climate activists?
Where are they? Where is Greenpeace when you need them? Where is Greta? Greta, please stop the Gaza thing. Come here instead, baby. Oh my God. Mean little gooly. Yeah, anyways. All right. Now let's go, however, to the bad, because there's plenty to talk about there. Woo! So the budget projects that the economy will grow, but not by much. About 1% per year for the next 2 years, which is well below projections made last year. So it just goes to show, these are just projections. They were telling us we'd grow because investments would pay off. Well, apparently not so much anymore. And by the way, I highly doubt we will even grow 1% per year.
Yeah, I don't see that at all. And if we grow, if they actually grow, it's going to be nominally in terms of GDP size. That's what they're going to flex, but it's not real GDP per capita that's going to grow. Actually, real GDP per capita is supposed to be bottom of the OECD, so projected for the next 5 years.
Absolutely. So, I mean, if you look at it in the OECD, when we account for real GDP per capita, Canada's had a 10-year growth of 0.5%. 0.5% up per year, guys, by the way, for a decade, an entire decade. Our GDP per capita, real GDP per capita grew by 0.5%. In comparison, the United States grew by 19%. So that just goes to show.
And do you know how much the Canadian population, what percentage the Canadian population increased by during that time where GDP stagnated?
Honestly, in 10 years, I think when Trudeau got into office, we must have been close to like 36, 37 million.
We're like 35.
35 million, yeah.
Right around 35.
And now we're at like 42-ish.
42, probably more.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
Horrible. So that's number one. Number two, the deficit. We still need to talk about it because a deficit of $78 billion, let's make it so people understand it. Because what the fuck is $78 billion? Well, it's about $1,900 per Canadian. I got you there. I know you know what you're trying to do. $1,900 per Canadian. So that's how much we will all pay for this new deficit this year. That is on top of what you're already paying. It's just saying that you need to pay an extra $1,900. Yeah.
No matter how much insane amounts of tax you paid off in Canada, the deficit means that you still owed that much to have balanced the budget.
Yep. Another thing that we need to talk about that's bad because it's never talked about is the total debt. Mm-hmm. The total debt today stands at, drumroll, do we know?
1.5?
Almost. It's at $1,345 billion. And the reason why I use that way of saying $1.34 trillion is because I want people to realize we talk about billion, 78 billion deficit, billion. We are $1,345 billion in debt. So, or 1.34 trillion. That leads us to debt servicing. Our debt servicing, aka the interest payment, aka the minimum balance on your credit card for you consumers, is $55.6 billion this year. That's almost as much as Ottawa spends on healthcare transfers. We waste nearly 10% of our taxpayer money on interest charges alone. And that's slated, by the way, to keep fucking increasing in the coming years.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine, again, you spend a 10% of your income on debt servicing. You're bankrupt. Your things are not good. You would be like going to see a licensed insolvency trustee. But here in Canada, we just print some more.
Mm-hmm. The main issue is that voters never punish the Liberals for bankrupting us. I think financial literacy is a huge problem in Canada.
A massive problem.
Most people are not financially literate. So when you put these numbers in front of them, they're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, they don't understand it.
Doesn't matter. Oh, I don't know. It doesn't affect me. I get my dollars.
But in fact, and let's make it even worse, he's borrowing money right now to pay off the debt that's coming to term in the near future. So effectively, it's like using a second credit card just to pay the minimum amount on the first credit card. That's what Canada's doing right now, guys.
That's a bubble.
That's a bubble.
That's a credit bubble.
And if we look right here on, we have a graph on TV, that is the increase in debt servicing year over year. So it starts in 2018. And we obviously had a dip during the pandemic. But look how much it's jumping up and look how much it's slated to keep increasing. By 2030, we're slated to be paying over $80 billion a year just on interest payments.
That's the deficit of this year.
Oh my God, that is the deficit of this year.
That's close to the deficit of this year.
Absolutely.
It's unreal.
Unreal. So I call that the very ugly. Now, I did a little exercise. And this is for individuals just to understand, because again, all these numbers, big numbers, like humans are really bad at visualizing big numbers. It's an inherent issue that we have. So I broke it down. I basically converted all these numbers and made the Canadian government be an individual, a typical individual making $100,000. The whole goal here is to say, if you were the Canadian government, how would your finances look like? So you're making $100,000 a year. Not a bad salary. You're above, by the way, the median salary of a Canadian. But let's say the Canadian government was you and you're making $100,000 a year. You are slated to spend $115,463, which means that you are indebting yourself, you are borrowing, or perhaps putting on your credit card $15,426 for the year. But wait, you're already indebted $265,000. And every year, just paying that minimum balance on your credit card, not paying down the principal, just paying the interest that they charge you costs you nearly $11,000. So would you, if you were in that situation, would you say that you're in a healthy financial situation? Or if a friend or family member came up to you and showed you these numbers, would you say, you know what, keep going, you're doing fine? Or would you say, dude, you need to sit down with a financial advisor ASAP?
Don't worry, they're investments. Don't worry.
You know what? Okay, that's perfect what you just said. That's perfect, because that's another thing I looked into. It's the spin that they put on it. Mm-hmm. The absolute spin that Canadians buy and they don't get it. Fuck, that is such a good point. Thank you for making that, because they're saying right now that it's an investment. They're investing in Canadian future, right?
And they've been investing passionately for a decade.
Well, here is the official theme of every budget that the Liberal has presented so far. In 2016, they called it growing the middle class. Question for you. Did the middle class grow or no? In 2017, they called it building a strong middle class.
Yeah.
Still waiting. In 2018, they called it equality and growth, a strong middle class. It seems to be a recurring fucking theme with them, eh? They always, what's it called? Like they they create a marketing message around the one thing they're trying to destroy. In 2019, they called it investing in the middle class. I wish I was making this up. These are the official names of the budgets, the tagline that the governments have used over the years. In 2020, understandably enough, they called it COVID-19 Economic Response Plan. Okay, fair enough. 2021, they call it a recovery plan for jobs, growth, and resilience. There's been no jobs and no growth, but fuck, we're resilient. 2022, they called it a plan to grow our economy and make life more affordable. Dude, I swear, I'm laughing because it's the opposite that's happened. Yeah. Life has not gone more affordable. It's gone considerably worse. And it's just so funny because it's ironically always the opposite. Then 2023, they called it a made in Canada plan, strong middle class, affordable economy, and healthy future, as we're offshoring fucking industries left and right.
I love how they constantly called for a stronger middle class. And now 80% of Canadians think they'll never be able to afford a home. Okay.
But wait, 2024.
2.2 million Canadians.
Wait, 2024. Because you'll say this after and it's going to tie in, but 2024. Fairness for every generation. Fairness for every generation. As they are clearly prioritizing the older generation with the OAS payments and the CPP and the QPP while robbing the youth of their future. And 2025, of course, we called it this year, building the strongest economy in the G7. So best believe our economy is about to crumble.
The weakest economy in the G7.
So that was just that parentheses. Please tell me about what you were going to say.
They keep talking about building a stronger middle class, building a stronger middle class, building a stronger middle class. When 80% of Canadians feel as though they will never be able to afford a home, 2.2 million Canadians lining up at food banks. How does that a strong middle class? You know, and now how does having a UBI, like if you had a strong middle class, you would not need a universal basic income.
So let's touch into it, actually.
Oh, what a disaster.
Let's talk about UBI. First of all, maybe for the viewers, just explain what UBI is to begin with.
Universal basic income. It's basically an expanded welfare program. And they've been talking about this for a long time. It's always been, oh no, UBI. You always think, hey, that's not going to come. It's literal communism.
Yeah.
And it seems as though it's passing in the Senate and that it might be coming into Canada.
So from what I gather, and I suppose you have more information than me, but it is the Senate is proposing a bill that would force the government to create a framework. So it's not forcing the government yet to implement it, but rather to start looking into how it could be implemented in Canada. And in short, it would grant every Canadian, they haven't said citizen yet, they just said Canadian, no, but everyone who's 17 years or older, a livable income. Again, that hasn't been defined. And we don't know all the details. But maybe you have some more details.
Well, look, the parliamentary budget officer thinks that it could reduce poverty by up to 49%, possibly in the short term. However, the program is going to cost around $93 billion annually. And that's what they're estimating. So you know it's going to be higher than that. Right? And $93 billion annually, it's not an expense that the Canadian government can handle, can afford to tack on to our already collapsing economy. It's essentially, it's just inflationary spending. Like, let's just call it what it is. A UBI is inflationary spending.
Yeah.
You give everyone a certain amount of money. It's like the minimum wage, right? And then all those people have demand for goods in the economy, goods that they did not produce, right? Because when you produce goods, you lower the cost of goods, right? When you produce an abundance, you have a lot of supply, the price comes down.
Yeah.
But when you give everybody UBI, you're essentially driving demand up, right? You're giving people demand.
Yeah.
They will demand goods with that money. But they didn't produce any of those goods.
That's true.
Canada is a net importer. You know, we import most of our technology, most of our consumer products, most of our grooming care products. It's mostly imported. We don't manufacture much in this country.
Right.
And so essentially a UBI in Canada would be extremely inflationary. It would not address the problem. And if you're economically illiterate, you will think that, hey, it's a great program. Yeah, it's going to cost a lot, but hey, the parliamentary budget officer thinks it could reduce poverty by up to 49%. Yeah, for the first 3 years, because we've tried this experiment. Yeah. It's an experiment that even Mamdani down in New York seems to want to try. And really, it's just going further and further left.
But okay, let me play devil's advocate.
Sure.
Not that I agree with UBI, just disclosure, but I hear people saying, okay, it's a good way to streamline the programs because right now we have welfare, we have government assistance for food, for housing, we have child benefits, we have employment insurance, right? We have Quebec parental insurance plan. There's also parental plans at the federal level for outside of Quebec. All these programs would be streamlined and replaced with that UBI, that universal basic income. Isn't that perhaps a good thing?
I don't believe so.
No.
I personally don't believe so. You have to understand money for what it is. Money itself is nothing. Okay, it's not worth anything. It's just paper. It used to be backed by gold, but now it's backed by nothing other than an IOU. It's backed by debt.
Yep.
And so the more they print,
yep,
the worse the currency will get. So who's to say that UBI causes such an inflation crisis that, hey, you might get $50,000 a year from the government as a universal basic income, but what happens when the cost of living is $150,000 a year? It's just nominal currency that they're handing out. And sure, maybe you could streamline those programs into one centralized basic income, right? But are they even going to cut all those programs?
Yeah.
Has that been discussed as a framework?
That's the premise, right? Now, on the basis only of streamlining all those programs, I agree. I think that's good.
Fair enough.
Especially if it comes with the inevitable bureaucracy or bureaucrat cutting, because you don't need all these bureaucrats now to administer these programs. I would support that. My issue is more on a macroeconomic level. See, I'll use a simpler analogy for people to understand. Life, sadly, in a lot of ways, is a collection of choices people make. And it doesn't matter if you give someone $1 million, most of the time they'll blow it because the behaviors and the attitudes and the know-how on how to manage it or keep it is not possessed by everyone, right? You see with lottery winners. You give a lottery winner 10 million, 80% of the time they blow it within 3 years. People don't want to manage money. Now, I fly a lot, and there's loyalty programs, right? There's frequent flyer programs, and we call it, fucking elite members, whatever, okay? Those perks, lounge access, and first class upgrades, and, extra baggage, whatever. You get a bunch of cool upgrades or cool packages. But the problem is this. When everyone has priority, nobody has priority. And the problem now is that the airlines have devalued all these loyalty programs to the point where it's so easy to qualify. Everyone has it. Sometimes it's given with a credit card. You just pay the card fee, like $500 a year, and you get all those perks. Well, all of a sudden, the lounge is overcrowded. Now, all of a sudden, everyone's fighting for the 3 first-class upgrades, so nobody gets upgrades. All of a sudden, the flights are overbooked. So when everyone has elite status, or when everyone has status, nobody has status. So with money, if you give everyone money, now nobody has money because that money will not buy the same amount that it could before. It's inflationary. If you give everyone $1,000, now the shopkeeper is not going to keep his apple at $2. It's going to go up in price. So effectively, you're just creating a loop, a feedback loop that just never really ends. That's, from my perspective, the macro side of things, why it would be bad. But on the logistical, administrative side, I think that's a beautiful thing. And maybe there's a way to streamline all the programs without having to give UBI to everyone. And we're not even talking about psychological effect of effectively killing productivity through motivation. Every day you get up and you do good things for society because you strive for more. Well, if all your basic needs are taken, you think, okay, it's going to lower stress, it's going to lower healthcare costs. And yes, there's evidence for that. But why the fuck would you get out of your house? Why would you go study? Why would you go work? Why would you build a business? All your needs are met.
Completely disincentivizes progress and growth.
Exactly.
And for me, it comes down to a moral value as well.
Yeah.
You have to earn the things that you get in this life.
Mm-hmm.
We are not all equal, but when we are not, it's an old saying. If we are not all equal, then we are free. If we are all equal, then we are not, like, we are oppressed, essentially.
Okay.
It's a statement against communism and socialism in general.
Uh-huh.
And essentially, this is just, I see it personally as an expansion of the welfare system.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's just going to, as usual, add more bureaucracy. They're going to have to fund it every year. It's never going to be enough. They're always going to say, hey, no, that the UBI has to come up because, inflation is up. But they don't realize that they're just continuing the cycle,
right,
like you said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a moral, at a moral level, when you raise children, when you have a family and your kids see you just like mooching off the welfare system and just living off of UBI, they will never have the motivation to aspire to be better.
Yeah.
And the system will cost so much to taxpayers. Taxes will have to go up to pay these. Either inflation is going to go up or taxes are going to go up, right? And so they will never be able to accomplish the result that they desire to eliminate poverty by implementing the system, because it's like you said, it's a self-fulfilling loop. And beyond that, it completely disincentivizes any young person to reach for their goals.
Yeah.
And that completely stagnates societal growth. It completely it devalues human progress. Most of the technology we have in our society these days comes from the United States of America.
Yeah.
Where essentially you had free market capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an idea, you have the means to pursue that idea. The government's not taxing you that much. You have the opportunity to, you don't have authoritarians on your back constantly charging you taxes. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
The more bureaucracy you create, the more authoritarianism you create in the end.
And that's a good point. And sadly, in Canada, thanks to all that bureaucracy we have and these deficit spending, we're at a point right now where Canada is sadly slowly joining the third world. And I might sound a little bit alarmist by saying that, but Canada's GDP is now officially no longer in the G7.
I'm not surprised.
Here it is on screen. Let's pull it up. Currently, the largest economy in the world is obviously the United States, followed by China, then Germany, Japan, India, the UK, France, Italy, Russia is now ahead of Canada, and we are 8th. We are let me say that again. We are no longer in the G7. There used to be the G8, then we kicked Russia out and we just became the G7. Perhaps we should bring back the G8 after all, because we've slipped. There you go. Just had to show this, but that's what 10 years of liberal policy. It's crazy how fast you can slip. Now, the silver lining here, and I want to make this message to the viewers, is that in the next 10 years, doing the right thing means that we can rise above. The damage done in 10 years can be reversed in another 10 years, but it won't be done overnight. And it will be tough, but it can be done. Just had to put it out there.
Well, if the Liberals get their majority and stick around till 2029, it's going to be a decade and a half until we could recover.
Well, there's a point eventually where it is impossible to go back, right? There's a saying, because you mentioned communism, and that's so true. You cannot vote your way out of communism. Communism has to be fought with blood and weapons oftentimes. And it might sound alarmist, but if we continue to give government power more and more and more and more and to become more reliant on them, we are effectively, without a revolution, but through subversion, becoming a communist country. Because we've seen communist revolutions and what's happened. It's very sudden and bloody. But, I mean, we would be the first country to slowly devolve into it ourselves. And people are almost calling it for it. And you're seeing it with Mamdani. Maybe this is a good, outlet towards that.
Yeah.
The election of Mamdani in the U.S. as the mayor of New York.
I just wanted to add one last point to the UBI point you were making earlier, that it creates more dependency on the state. That's what the problem with UBI is. And that's why the liberals are incentivized to push it, because they want to create this dependence, this endless dependence on the state.
Yes.
And that is the biggest issue. And that leads perfectly into Mamdani, because
have you seen all on TikTok, since we're live on TikTok right now, have you guys seen all those fucking videos, the girls like, they're spelling the name M-A-M.
His name is Mamdani.
His name is Mamdani. I look at these girls and I'm like, you guys are, man.
We call them latte liberals.
Starbucks
socialists.
Starbucks socialists, latte liberals. That is exactly it. They are the first ones that are going to suffer so badly under this. But hey, man.
At least it feels good.
At least it feels good. So yes.
We elected, essentially, I see Zohran Mamdani as Justin Trudeau as a mayor of New York. Like young.
Charismatic.
Great speaker. Knows how to rouse people's emotions. Justin Trudeau is pretty good at that, especially in his 2015 campaign.
He's also good at arousing Katy Perry. Sorry. Had to say
we don't know about that.
Hey, you're right. You're right. There are rumors that he is a homo. But anyways.
But Zohran Mamdani really gives me the same illusion that Justin Trudeau gave Canadians in 2015.
Yes.
He talks about this new era of prosperity. He was talking in his victory speech about, how Donald Trump is this huge tyrant, and we have to make sure that we get the next Donald Trump. And at the same time, he is preaching communism in a way. He came out with this, I don't know if you could call this his policy platform. I'd actually love to share this. Let's do it.
Pull it up. Okay. Pull it on screen.
So he was talking about greedy landlords and seizing. Check this out.
Starting on day one, we will expand the city's special enforcement programs, doubling fines for hazardous violations and tripling them for conditions that are immediately dangerous. And when a really bad landlord, like this guy, refuses to fix it, the city's going to step in, make the repairs, and send them the bill. If that doesn't work, the city's taking over the building. We're putting the worst landlords out of business.
So there he goes,
that's so
talking about seizing private property. One of the first steps of communism, because communists don't believe in ownership and private property.
He said it up front. He said it. He does not believe in private property. He flat out, he's not doing it like under the radar. He's flat out, black on white, said, I don't believe in private property, and the city needs to seize properties and turn it into social housing. But obviously, they're still within the United States of America. So they still can't just take their fucking goons out and seize the property. So they're doing it backhanded that way. So they're going to freeze the rents, which they're allowed to do. From there, landlords will be already fucking poor as shit. They won't have the money to repair the buildings. Then inadvertently, buildings will need repair. The tenants will complain on a hotline, like a denouncing hotline. The city will send these inspectors in. The inspectors will say, this building is now condemned unless you can fix it. The landlords won't have the money because of the rent controls. And then the city, like he said, will seize the building.
Woo.
That's the game plan.
Yeah.
And that is not, by the way, conspiracy theories. This is literally his words.
Yeah. And I mean, I just showed it in the video.
Yes.
We will seize your the state will step in and seize your property. That is communism, friends. That is the first step to communism. And so I don't feel as though Zohran Mamdani represents New Yorkers, actual New Yorkers, people that live in New York, do business in New York, thrive in New York, work in New York, even at a middle class level. I don't think he represents those people. And his voting demographics showed that as well.
Have you seen the breakdown?
No, do you have it on hand?
I don't have it on hand.
I can get it.
I don't have it on hand, but I do have, in summary, they broke it down by years of living in New York City. So individuals that were born in New York City were overwhelmingly against Mamdani. And the shorter your residence time in New York City was, the more likely you were to vote for Mamdani, to the point where if you had been in New York City less than a year, which you're allowed to still vote for mayor, I think it's 6 months you need to be there, you were something like 83% likely to vote for him. So effectively, it's a bunch of transplants.
Communist immigrants.
Let's go with the word transplant. Transplants for other places, other states, other cities, other countries who came in and did that. Yeah. It's not the actual red-blooded New Yorkers that are doing that. Actually, they were overwhelmingly against him. And yet, they're the ones who are going to suffer.
Yeah.
Because all these newer ones don't own property. They're all renters. So they're happy when they hear that shit.
Yeah. And you watch business flee New York at rates. You already saw business flee New York during the COVID era. This will accelerate it.
Yeah.
You know, New York is a pillar of the economy.
Oh,
right. New York City.
It's the center of the financial world.
Absolutely. And these companies, the more left New York goes from this point on, because there are already pretty left. New York charges quite a substantial state income tax. They have other taxes. The taxes are somewhat comparable to Torontonians. It's only slightly lower, I believe.
It's lower. The most taxed state in the world, in the US, is California.
Yeah.
And it is still considerably lower than the least taxed province in Canada, believe it or not, at the federal level. Sorry, not at federal level, at the state level. Whew.
Really?
Oh yeah. This is just how bad it gets.
Like comparing California to Alberta.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that. I thought Alberta was slightly better than California.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right. I have to do some math homework when I get home.
As a matter of fact, see, that I am certain I must have it somewhere. Oh, come on. Tell me I've saved it. But maybe not. But no. The state of California has a lower taxation rate than... It's unbelievable, man. It's really, it's crap. But speaking of Alberta... did you have some more points you want to talk about Mamdani?
Well, that was the main thing. I just want to talk about the seizing private property. There was also, you know, he claimed that he said he never wanted to defund the police, but you know how the internet is.
The internet never forgets. Pepperidge Farm does not forget.
Yeah. Like there's claims of him saying defund the haram police. No, we want to defund the police. This is his old tweets, right?
Oh God.
What we need is to defund the NYPD.
I love how he calls it the haram police.
Yeah, it's bringing religion into politics, which, you know, I don't think it has a place in the United States of America.
Nope. It's but again,
excessive amounts of religion.
But you know, I'm very happy I'm happy he got elected.
I'm not.
I'm happy. I'll tell you why. Because the people that is going to hurt are the people that voted for him. It does not affect you. Does not affect me. We're not Americans. We are not New York City residents. I honestly don't personally like to go to New York anyways. I like to go to Florida instead. So let it burn. And let it be perhaps a cautionary tale for the rest of the world. Perhaps. I say perhaps because the world does not have a very good... They're not Pepperidge Farm. They don't forget. They forget. The world forgets. But let it burn. Let it fucking crash and burn. Let the crime rate go up. Again, you mentioned the latte commies, right? Yeah. All the little fucking girlies, the little white girlies, like, oh yeah, you know, that fucking voted for him because Mamdani is so fucking hot and like he's so like edgy. They're the first ones that are gonna fall victim to the defunding of the police, the mass migration, the social housing, we will release people from jails because we don't believe in jails. Crime rate is gonna soar, man.
They'll move to a Republican state.
Rudy Giuliani might not have been the best mayor in New York, but his stop and frisk policy did lower the crime rate in New York. And New York used to be a crime-infested city. And thanks to Giuliani, it went down to an actual decently safe place. Not the best, but decently safe. Well, let these girls experience what third world crime rates are like.
My only issue with that is, and I totally get you, like... you reap your own rewards.
You do.
You know, you
really fucking do.
Yeah. And so the only issue with that is, like I said, New York is like the center of the financial world.
They are.
And
Wall Street is going to have to move out of there.
Bad news for New York is bad news for North America in a lot of ways. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm seeing some serious red flags with Zohran Mamdani. I don't think he will be a good mayor. I think he will completely bosh his job as a city. He's not going to be able to, first of all, he's not even going to be able to accomplish his promises.
No.
Kathy Hochul is already like, I don't really like you there. And so, look, we'll see what happens, but I don't think New York is going to look too good in a few years from now. And that's very sad because a lot of business is done in New York. And a lot of working class people rely on the power of New York City.
Absolutely.
And if that dwindles, it's a center of the free world in a lot of ways.
I guess, you know what, everything's on a cycle. Let Tampa or Tallahassee now become the center of the free world. Let's Florida ring, baby. Yeah. I really believe in the greater Florida theory, right? So basically Florida Peninsula, it should like extend and go all the way back down to like Mexico, and it should be the greater Florida state. Like an empire, actually. I saw a meme about that. I'll send it to you one day. It's a great Florida empire. I'm a huge fucking believer of it. But you mentioned Alberta, and I wanted to bring it back to Canada.
Sure.
Because Alberta is the least taxed province, not least taxed jurisdiction, because some territories are taxed less than Alberta, but the least taxed province. And I wanted to do a little bit of a tax breakdown because we spoke about the budget and all the beautiful things in it. Well, I wanted to show people, where does your money really go? Not how much you spend. Where does it go? Again, if you get granular and you can really show where your money, because you never get a bill at the end of the year that tells you, oh, we spent this much and that much and that much, and I'll pay up, which would make people switch their tune real quick about taxes and spending. But I think it's important. So I'm going to break down the taxes for a $100,000 salary in Alberta and where that money goes. So, and this is broken down between federal and provincial, but they're going to be combined together. Okay. So it's both at the federal and provincial level. On a $100,000 salary in the province of Alberta, you will be spending in the year $3,319 or 14.5% of your income on healthcare. So whoever said it was free, it ain't. And this is whether you need it or not, and whether you get good service or not, by the way. Then, as a proud Albertan would be definitely pissed off about that. Not me, I'm not an Albertan, but a proud Albertan would definitely be pissed off about that. You will be paying $2,592 on transfers to other provinces through equalization payments. So every Albertan that earns at least $100,000 is paying is paying over $2,500 to other provinces, effectively to be told to fuck off with your oil, but baby, we'll still take your money. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Then you will pay $2,231 in retirement benefits. Okay. Ooh. You will pay just shy of $2,000 on the interest on debt. So $2,000 every fucking year you pay for debt on $100,000. That's 2% of your income on the debt.
Wow.
What else? Okay, now let's talk about some really bad ones. Okay, like for example, like this is not bad. Children, community, and social services, like $1,300. You know, for the children, I much rather we put money on the youth than we do the old. And this is an important point about the budget. And this is like a parenthesis here, but we keep spending considerably more money on the boomers than we do on the next generation, which is so fucking fundamentally skewed. That is the opposite of what a society should do. We should always prioritize the youth. You know, Titanic or whatever, women and children first, men later, right? Now it's women and children last, not men first. No. Old fucks that are about to expire in 5 to 10 years. We are effectively mortgaging the future of kids to ensure the next 15 years of boomers is cozy. That is insane. It should honestly, it is a generational war at this point. And it's sad. It should not be. But the boomers, I believe, have been the most fucking selfish generation in the history of mankind, history, period, point final.
Why do you say that? Just curious.
Well,
specifically.
Because time and time again. Look, okay. Immigration. We bring immigrants. Why? Because we need to artificially boost the GDP. Fuck the culture. Fuck all the destruction it's going to bring about. That's the next generation's problem. All the social programs. CPP, QPP, even healthcare. Super cheap at first, but ballooned. Who's paying for it now? Us, with half the quality of service, while they reaped all the benefits. I mean, look at that. We have to pay 5.5% in CPP or QPP, and the employer pays another 5.5%. At the time that these individuals, the boomers, were working and contributing, it was something like 2%. So they kept more money in their pocket. They get more of the benefits at the expense of us today. That's what it is. It is absolutely a generational warfare. That's what it is. That's why I'm saying it.
Okay.
Back to Alberta, though. How do you feel about knowing that out of your $100,000 salary, $1,275 of it is spent on Indigenous priorities? Because not paying taxes is not enough. You need to also receive money. Some people, we're all equal unless some people are a little bit more equal. That is more, by the way, than you will spend on defense at $1,010. That is more than you will spend on public safety, the police, right? At $834. That is more than you will spend on employment insurance at $678. And that is more than you will spend even on infrastructure at $328. You spend more on Indigenous priorities. I won't go through all the rest because it's honestly lengthy, but this is a little bit of summary of what $100,000 looks like and where your money is going year after year in Alberta.
Wow.
And it's worse in Ontario. It's worse in Quebec because we get taxed
Far
more.
worse.
Alberta is the lowest taxed province. Keep that in mind.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, we're on Canada today, so.
Yes, we are. Speaking of Canada, did you hear about liberals trying to rebrand, or media, I should say, grocery stores? They're celebrating grocery stores selling expired food as a solution to affordability crisis.
I love it.
Have you heard of this?
I have not.
Okay.
Please give me
can't
the
make
rotten
this up.
food. Well, I mean, we went from we're going to be eating bugs to now we're going to be eating spoiled food. By all means, what an improvement.
A new kind of grocery store in Quebec is promising big savings at a time when food prices keep rising. The low-cost chain sells discounted items, sometimes past their best before date. As the CBC's Gabriel Gindy found out, shoppers say the deals are hard to beat.
I'm at a type of grocery store that's gaining a lot of momentum. It sells discounted items, and people shopping here say they're saving a lot of money.
I spent 52 days, and if I would have bought it everywhere else, probably $150.
The food is sourced through distributors and manufacturers, so products that are mislabeled or can't be sold in regular grocery stores end up here, like this beef that was supposed to go to a restaurant. It's sold at a discount, making prices more affordable. Another reason for why prices are so cheap is because they sell items that are near or past their best before date.
Best before is almost more of a recommendation about marketing, whereas expiry for something like a meat product is, about the safety of consuming that food.
Nice. So in between the bugs, the fake meat, the cloned meat,
And the expired food.
and expired food, we've just solved Canada's issues. No, but I think this is exactly what they mean when they say your quality of life is going to drop in Canada. That's what
the Bank of Canada
is
governor
quality
said, right?
of life going down right here.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah. And, we talk about financial literacy in this country. When
Jesus fuck.
When socialists are like overtaking with their insanity, I'm just going to call it what it is. It's simmer free mic time.
Go ahead. Let's go.
When lunatic socialists overthrow free market principles in a society, it leads to poverty and decay. This has happened essentially everywhere it has been experimented.
Mm-hmm.
And the only weapon humans have against the dark solution, the dark destination of socialism is economic literacy. And I would love for the viewers of this show, for anyone who ever comes across this message, to really prioritize this. And with tools like AI, you can literally type into ChatGPT, I am financially illiterate. Please give me the breakdown on how government deficits are bad. And you will get most of the information you need.
Actually.
And it's not that hard to get just a little more financially literate. I don't need you to vote conservative. I don't need you to vote liberal. Decide who you want to vote for, but at least be financially literate enough to make the rational decision.
Well, the real decision should never be based on this guy appears good, like Trudeau. I love his hair.
Or
oh my
Mamdani.
God. Mamdani. I'm not against voting on character, though, because character is important, right? Platforms are, I've also noticed, I say right a lot. I need to stop. Right. It's the Right Call podcast, right. But character is important. So is the person trustworthy? Is the person's priority set in defending, let's say, the constituency, stuff like that? But it's also important to look at the platform. And yes, a lot of people are not informed or understand the basics. It's important. And so we encourage everyone. Education is important. Always strive to learn more, period. Because or else, well, if you're more educated and more experienced in life, you're less likely to be taken for a fool, taken for a spin, abused and abused.
And you're less likely to prioritize things that don't really matter that much, that aren't that important to your to life in general, like anger, emotions. The more educated you are, the more you tend to recognize that your emotional side sometimes is kind of destructive to you. And
yeah, emotions are not bad, by the way. And this is like a parenthesis. Emotions are not bad, but you cannot let them dictate you because emotions are also fleeing. Emotions come and go.
They're temporary.
They're temporary. Which, side note, no matter if you're having a good day or a bad day, just understand, like the good days, they won't last, but neither will the bad days, So like if you're going through some tough times, we spoke about mental health a little bit last episode, but if you're going through a bad day, ride the wave, baby. It's gonna get. It will literally get better. It has to. It never stays bad forever, just like it never stays good forever.
It comes down to how you as an individual handle it.
Yes.
It really comes down to your own character, your own strength, your own fortitude, and your best outcomes come from your resilience.
Always.
And this is why I think this kind of leads into the next topic. We talked about the LGBTQ community at the start of the episode. We said that we would talk a little bit about this.
Yes,
this is some news that came out that really people need to be aware of this. Did you know, Elliot, that the first openly trans U.S. lawmaker directed partner on how to abuse tools before hold on. This is the wrong headline. I'm sorry. But all this to say, did you know that the first openly U.S. trans political figure was caught essaying children?
Well, color me surprised. It seems to be an ongoing ritual on their behalf.
And not only did he, or I'm just going to call him a he. I'm done with the.
Are you misgendering him?
I don't care. I'm misgendering this person. They assaulted a child. He directed partner on how to abuse toddlers. This person just do it themselves. They coach somebody else to do it.
They aided and abetted.
Essentially.
Yes.
And it really comes down to, once again, lack of priorities, lack of education, lack of direction in life. You only do these kinds of things if you're completely lost. Oh, you have no vision or purpose.
Well, there's also just pure evil in the world.
Yeah, fair.
Pure evil exists.
Fair.
And that's why I'm not necessarily for rehabilitation. Yeah, in some cases, rehabilitation should be prioritized. But there are some people that are just purely fucking evil, and the world is better without them.
Yeah, it's like the case that just happened in Canada, where they removed mandatory minimums for assault against children.
Yep.
Once again,
pedophilia.
Essentially incentivizing pedophilia.
Yep.
Exactly. And, we were talking about Florida earlier, and the contrast is so awesome. New Florida law allows death penalty for adults who rape children under 12.
Love it.
I stand for it.
Love it.
I don't care if it hurts your liberal emotions. These people don't belong in society as far as I'm concerned.
But furthermore, it's the fact that the death penalty already exists for, capital crimes like murder.
Yeah.
But doing that to a child will destroy their life, period. Their life is ruined. It's as good as if you've taken their lives. So, by all means. And the rate of what's the fucking word? Recidivism.
Yeah, repeat offenders.
Repeat offending, yeah. Repeat offending.
Recidivism.
Recidivism.
It's a real. It's an English word too.
Recidivism. The rate of people doing it again after they've done it once is insanely high for these individuals, because it's an actual fucking problem for them. Yeah, disgusting, fucking vile. Don't stand for that. You know, it's something I've said to my son's grandparents many times, but it's like, you look at kids and how pure they are. They're like, there's not a fucking gram, an ounce of evil or bad spirit in them. It is pure joy. And you look at them and you're like, how could someone want to harm that? How could someone want to defile and destroy that? You need to be like actual, like, devil evil.
Evil, lack of direction, lack of purpose, and no morals.
Yeah,
simple as that. I'm done with people like coddling this. I'm done with people just being soft about it. It's just so frustrating that you lack the gumption to like stand up for something that's right because the consequences are severe. Well, what about the consequences of the child that then may end up becoming an offender themselves later on in their lives? You know,
it's even worse than that. Their life is just cooked. You've taken the life of someone.
Well, you've certainly ruined it. You know, I've met friends. I know people that have gone through it. It's not an end all be all thing. It doesn't define you as a human being. However, it does traumatize you. It messes with your emotions. It messes with your ability to have positive relationships. It messes with your ability to understand love, understand your intimacy in general. Like, what does that mean for you if someone can just come and touch you and barely get a prison sentence in Canada for it? It just baffles me that Sean Fraser actually said that they have no intention of using the notwithstanding clause to overturn that. Okay, even Wab Kinew, all right, an NDP premier, went publicly and said, hey, I stand against this.
Yeah.
Okay? Danielle Smith, completely contrasting political views, said the same thing. I'm completely against this. I would use the notwithstanding clause.
Yep.
Pierre Poilievre said that. But Mark Carney was completely silent.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, we'll find other tools to to get those people. Well, they're not working to begin with.
Well, you know, look, again, if in this parliamentary session, not in 2, not in 3, not in 4, if in this parliamentary session they amend the laws in order to do what he just said, fine, fair. But you get one parliamentary session to address that issue. If you don't, then yes, you're also aiding and abetting in it. And there's someone that commented real quick that the Catholic Church is the biggest culprit and most right-wing freaks, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that is true. The Catholic Church is, or had, I know they've worked on it, but probably still do, have a lot of these fucking freaks. I completely concur, and I'm against it. What the fuck?
And how does that even change the argument to begin with?
But there you go.
Like, it's just like, what about? Like, but what about this?
Exactly.
It's like, okay, no, that is a serious issue, and that needs to be tackled for what it is. And
it's whataboutism. That's what it is.
Exactly. Whataboutism. That person doesn't have a valid political argument, and so they'll just say, hey, but what about this? And just completely deflect and change the topic. It's like, okay.
It's like, honestly,
can't rationalize.
Yeah, whoever said that, like
that.
You fucking, sorry to say, but that's brain dead. Look, it's not because two wrongs don't make a right, or it's not because someone else does it bad that it means it absolves someone else. So your take is perfect on that, Simmer. Perfect on that. And someone asked who's the co-host. His name is Simmer. His TikTok is @RightCallSimmer. Sorry, just had to say this for you.
And notice that the new Florida law allows death penalty for adults who rape children under 12. It covers the Catholic priests that do it as well.
And it should. It fucking should. Look, listen, if I don't care who you are, if a conservative holy figure was to come out and turns out to be a fucking pedophile, I will be the first one to denounce and call for the death penalty on them as well. It's simple.
Amen to that, brother.
All right. Hopefully, let's go to not so better news. I do want to touch, so there's a few things we won't touch on, like CBC again. Sorry, CBC, you guys are safe for this week again. I did have a little bit of a segment on fair share of taxes, but in the US, it applies in Canada, but fuck it, we'll keep it for another time. But one thing I think is super important in the next 15 minutes-ish, let's try to keep it under that, it's gaslighting of government because it touches on the fucking budget and it touches on how gullible Canadians are. We spoke about this. You said it earlier as well. Educate yourself so you're not so easily fucking gullible. Well, I decided to compile, and there are so many instances, but I took the 5 times the government gaslighted you. And those 5 times are the times that for me are the most meaningful. But there's so many more. I swear to God, I had to pick and choose because I would have had to, I could have made an episode just on that. I'll never understand Canadians that blindly trust the government, by the way. I'll never get it. It's proven. Governments lie to you and to its people. And it's worse than an abusive ex, by the way. Big promises, empty apologies, then they backstab you quietly in the night. So, start with the first one. The income tax introduction in 1917. It was introduced as a short-term war funding tool. It evolved into a permanent fixture, significantly increasing government revenue while burdening citizens long-term. So the initial premise was a temporary war income tax to fund World War I efforts, with rates, dude, this one fucking hurt, with rates starting at 4% on incomes over a certain threshold. How is it today? Well, today it's permanent, with federal rates up to 33% for the higher brackets. So we went from a temporary 4% to a permanent up to 33%. So that's gaslight number 1. Gaslight number 2, a little closer to us, 2015, the electoral reforms of Justin Trudeau. The initial promise in 2015 to make every vote count by ending the first past the post system. And he promised that 2015 would be the last election ever under that system of elections. Well, what changed? After consultations showing public support for proportional representation, so the Canadians really wanted a new voting system, the government deemed it hasty and dropped it in 2017. Why might that be? Well, we've spoken about this before. It serves the Liberals. They get more seats with the current first past the post system because Liberals are more efficient at converting popular voices into parliamentary seats. We saw it last election. Liberals and Conservatives were nearly even on popular voices, but yet the Liberals convert those voices to seats in Parliament and as such form governments. So why would they change something that benefits them? So we got gaslighted there too. And may I add, do you know how many times Trudeau repeated the promise that he was going to change the voting system to a proportional representation? You won't guess it, no matter what you say.
216
260, times. Right? Roughly 1,800 times. It's true, guys. There was no way you were going to get that. All right. Gaslight number 3. The GST, another tax, the goods and service tax of 1991. The initial promise, the GST was sold to Canadians as a temporary measure to fight the deficit. What changed? The GST became permanent and is now a major ongoing federal revenue stream. The GST used to be 7%, by the way. Luckily, Harper, the last Conservative government, lowered it by 2%. Thank you. But once again, we got gaslit. And may I add, before people say, you know what, you're just a partisan hack. The GST was introduced by Mulroney, a Conservative. Okay? This is both Liberal and Conservatives. Governments lie to you. Anyways, back to the Liberals though. Thank you very much. The balanced budget of 2015. The initial premise. The 2015 Liberal platform pledged modest short-term deficits of less than $10 billion for 3 years, with a return to balance in 2019. The change. Yeah, I know, good joke. The deficit grew significantly larger than promised pre-pandemic, and the government abandoned any near-term plan to balance the budget. So today the deficit is $78 billion. The debt more than doubled from $612.3 billion to $1,400 billion, also known as $1.4 trillion.
Bro, can I sneak in a gaslight?
Please go ahead.
Okay. What number were you at?
I was at 4, so this is 5 now.
I'll call it gaslight number 4.5.
4.5.
Okay. When Justin Trudeau was racking up those deficits. And I remember during the COVID spending, he was asked point blank, how are you, future generations are going to have to pay for this debt, all this debt you're accumulating. How are you going to pay for this debt? Trudeau said, interest rates are at historic lows, Glenn. That was his response. So gaslight number 2, he straight up gaslit that reporter. And dude, that clip is iconic in Canadian politics for me anyways. And
wow,
he's like gaslighting that reporter to his face, like, no. Like, and it's like the interest rates spiked viciously since that point.
It's insane.
Because of the inflation that he created, which any financially literate person would have known is leading towards a crisis. And the fact that, last year they passed this, but last year they barely passed this budget of what was it, 60 something billion?
Yeah, total, yeah, ultimately.
Yeah, and the fact that now this deficit is 70 something billion, and Canadians are like barely reacting to it. They're like, oh, this generational investments. Oh, gaslight and a half.
But keep in mind again that Canadians basically kicked Trudeau to the curb with a budget that was smaller, or a deficit that is smaller than it is today.
Yeah, but they'll swallow carnies like completely unaware.
The
go ahead. Gaslight number 5.
And gaslight number 5. And again, I could have gone on. I just chose 5 that I love.
Yeah.
Affordable housing and home prices. The Liberal government claimed to make housing more affordable for Canadians, particularly first-time buyers in major urban centers. Well, what changed? The government continued to pursue high immigration targets while not simultaneously increasing housing supply to match, leading to an unprecedented rise in home prices and rents across the country. So how is it today? Canada's housing became some of the most unaffordable in the G7. The average cost of a home has doubled in most regions in Canada since 2015. Housing affordability has plummeted, with the average home price significantly outpacing wage growth. This failure represents a massive monetary transfer away from average Canadians to existing property owners and societal shift in the concept of home ownership.
And the people you're talking about pay insane amounts of taxes for a competent government. Okay? You pay all these taxes. What was the healthcare annual transfer? What was it, like 2,000? The average family pays like $18,000 in healthcare.
So a family of 4 in Canada, because that was the Alberta thing, right?
Yeah.
Alberta, normally they spend $3,900 per individual at $100,000 a year on healthcare. But a family of 4 in Canada, so Canada, because some provinces it's more expensive, you're right, it's close to $19,000 a year on healthcare.
And how are those wait times looking, guys, for that $19,000 a year for that free healthcare, baby?
Oh, excellent. We love it. There's nothing better than waiting 24 hours for a broken arm.
Yeah, you spent 40 grand on healthcare in 2 years for your family and got essentially barely any service.
It's something.
And Canadians are like, I love my free healthcare.
Oh, they love.
At least it's free.
I know. I just want to wave real quick at Silver. Silver, remember from last Friday? Silver.
Yes.
Here. What's up, Silver? Just want to say hi. We're wrapping up this episode, but it was live for the Right Call podcast. So that was basically the segment on getting gaslit. And I was trying, what I was trying to do with this? I was trying to really reach those young, white, latte, liberal girls. The ones that love to use the term gaslighting all the time.
You can't, bro. You're a patriarchal fascist. How are you supposed to get through to these people?
God damn it. No, I'm just trying to use their slang. Aren't we supposed to say like 6'7" now?
I don't even know what that is.
This guy, look at the zoomer the second I said it. He perked up. His head's been fucking down in his phone and his computer the whole show. The second I say 6'7", he looks up. Fucking hilarious. See, that's what we deal with, the zoomers. I love you guys. I love the zoomers. I love them. Oh my God. Anyways. Hey,
did you hear what happened in Germany?
Oh God.
The German government announces its plan to repatriate 1.3 million Syrian refugees following pressure from the AfD.
I saw that. Well, I mean, the logic is actually very correct behind it, because they're like, well, there's no longer an asylum case to be made because Syria now does not have a war anymore. And there's a stable government that's being accepted by like all the countries in the world, including Germany. So, I mean, guys, time to go home. Baby, is Germany back? Is Germany back?
At some point, the pendulum has to swing.
It has to.
The chaos is just going to be overwhelming, and the pendulum has to swing.
It does.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, on that note, it's been an hour and 15 or an hour and 18. Guys, subscribe to our Patreon. We very much appreciate all of you guys. Also, we started doing something, Simmer and I. We go live on TikTok. Maybe we'll do it on YouTube as well. Maybe we'll like get a platform to like live stream on everything. But every night, you know, weekdays, like 20, 30 minutes just to like catch up. And Fridays, a longer one.
Yeah.
We're shooting the shit for a couple hours live on TikTok. So we're live right now shooting the show. But if you guys are catching this on YouTube or on Spotify, follow us on TikTok. My handle is hrh.elliot, and you have at rightcall_simmer.
Rightcallpodcast_simmer.
Rightcallpodcast_simmer. If not, follow us on Instagram at rightcallpodcast, and on YouTube, of course. Well, you guys know that. Both Spotify and YouTube. Simmer, thank you so mucho. It was good to have you.
It's a great episode.
I love these episodes. And also, I just want to say, Costa, our great AV guy behind the scene, first time here. He's a young conservative, 18 years old, but up and coming. And he just winked at me. I think it's on. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Until next time.